Yeah, I got a new hat again, which is kind of cool. I love these hats, and I'm going to cross over borders to one of our allies, the mighty ones who think they don't need um, outer perspective. This is the United States of America. Now, what happened in Ferguson and what happened in Baltimore, where a police officer basically shot what I think is an innocent man. Instead of immobilizing him somehow, restraining him somehow, they decided to use firepower instead. I don't think that there is enough training on hand-to-hand combat given to the authority figures, to the point where they have to show their guns to show that they have authority. Now, they are not only law enforcers, but they are security. They are supposed to make the people in the environment safe, because as long as they are there, criminals and such won't be as big a threat to the community as they would be if they were not there. Now, the thing about this profiling nature of American systems, we can date it back from slavery to the segregation, and it has a long history, and it's only been fixed cosmetically, like allowing black people to vote, right? I mean, that was huge at the time, but how much power do you actually allocate to the black minority? Which is one of the reasons why I want to talk about this, because the African Americans, the Hispanics and such, are mostly minority. So in order to combat these discriminatory systems, race, like I didn't know that people were angry about the fact that I said I didn't see color. And I tried to explain it. When I say I don't see color, I'm not saying I don't see color. When I say I don't see color, it means I don't assume or profile someone based on their skin tone, based on how they look. I don't. I mean, if you haven't even had a conversation about someone and you look at them and you go, that's probably a criminal or a troublemaker, solely based on color, that's something I just don't know how to do. Right? I am not intimidated by the concept of white supremacy. It's just me. I'm not. People are people. So, white America does not want to involve itself with fixing, and bringing up African America. Most of the time they use things like, no, there's someone that came from a poor background, worked really hard, now they are a millionaire. And people use Oprah as an example and all of that stuff. That doesn't, it doesn't matter. Those are special people who had special skills, right? They are not the average African American. They're not the average African American. So that argument is completely, it should be nullified. It's nonsense. White America should admit the atrocities of the past, as opposed to saying, well, that's the past and we're in the future now. By admitting the atrocities of the past, I'm saying they should realize that they were actually the oppressor most of the time, and the minority were countering the oppression. right? That's why they have these sort of beliefs that violence and outright noise is the only way to get the attention of the otherwise peaceful groups who who have white privilege, right? It's about everybody meeting in the middle, but especially white America. And I'm not talking about feeling guilty about what their ancestors did and so forth. No, but acknowledging that the system is the way it is because of the past. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated by the government, right? And so was the leader of the Black Panther. If I look at it, they should have gone with the Malcolm X approach. If they did that, then the next generation would not have to carry that burden further. By aggressively standing up for themselves, they could actually meet halfway with the white majority. And police officers, when they go into these neighborhoods, they already have this mentality of this is a dangerous neighborhood. That mentality at the back of their head is one of the reasons why they profile, because they assume. So training the police to be better at analyzing people. For example, they should know the culture of that neighborhood, how people dress, how people talk to each other, where people go out to have fun, and so that the people that are shady will be easily identified, as opposed to someone that's innocent being profiled. And the other thing is that it's also about authority. They feel because they are police, law enforcement, they have this authority that they have to show. But they are civil servants, right? They don't have to show authority unless it's a requirement, like someone won't cooperate. But in the same breath, they shouldn't just approach anybody and say, hey, you, roll down your window or whatever. That in itself comes from the whole authority of I can do whatever I want because I am the police. And accountability is also another thing. Police officers should be really good at hand-to-hand conflict, so that the gun is the last option, right? Because a security officer is as frightened for his own life, right, as the person that he is profiling, who think that they will probably be charged for something simple, something completely innocent. So authority, the fact that you are a police officer already, shows that you have decided to serve the community, not harass the community. Like in every society there is violence. There are violent people, there are people who want to get rich fast, and so forth. But I thought this was the whole need for stakeouts and stuff, to investigate behind the scenes before passing judgment. And these tools are there at their disposal. So the police look at the community, look at which people are actually safe and which people to watch out for, so that they don't have to be on alert with everyone. and the police officer abusing their authority should be called to order. I had this incident where I was driving, I just wanted to go to town quickly, and I forgot to put on my seatbelt, right? Because I stopped, I took a picture of something. Actually, I took a picture of my plot, the plot I want, and then I got back into the car and I forgot to put on my seatbelt. So when I got to the railway, there was a police officer, and he was like, where is your number plate? And I explained to him that I did not have my number plate because I had to wait until Tuesday to go to Nates to give me the proof that I need that this is indeed my car, and then go to them and have them make a number plate for the car. So I was trying to explain this, and the music in the car was too loud, so I turned it down and listened. And I don't hear very well. I have a slight listening problem. So I asked him again, like, what are you saying? And he was like, park, go and park over there. I parked and I went out to him, and he said he's going to write me a ticket for not wearing my seatbelt, right? And just like any other person, I quickly put the seatbelt on me like this, because I didn't want a fine, right? And for something ridiculous like not wearing a seatbelt to be fined 1,000. I mean, it's my life. I'm not driving recklessly. I'm not speeding, nothing. I just don't have a seatbelt. And these are one of the nonsensical things that end up with people getting tons and tons of fines based on almost nothing. The culture that we have here about seatbelts is completely idiotic. And the amount that people are charged for not wearing seatbelts is also, it's outrageous. It's ridiculous, right? So the guy asked me to get a triangle, and he's so, aggressive and stuff. And I'm like, why are you being aggressive with him? I haven't told him, like, I know you. He's like, no, you don't know me. I'm not from this area. I'm like, of course I don't know you because, personally, but I know you are the traffic officer in this vicinity. So I've seen your car and I've seen you driving it. That's what I meant by I know you. And I thought you would know that I'm from the community. And because I'm from the community, such a petty offense shouldn't be something that you should be fined for. And furthermore, it shouldn't be the reason why the police officer becomes so aggressive, like I cursed at him. So I got the triangle and I stood there, and he was talking, mumbling stuff. And I was like, hey man, it's your stress. I mean, if you want to stress out over simple things, that's your issue. And this really hit the guy. And he tells me to take the car to the police station because he's going to lock me up and teach me manners. Right? And immediately I noticed, like, this is a personal thing, and that's what got to me. Right? He knew who I was, and I'm even assuming it's because of the trailer that I put up about Dr. Dre, and the whole fuck the police thing. Right? If that's the thing, then come out and say it, and I'll explain to you, like, it's a cool trailer, and it went along with a lot of things that were relevant, and it fit my canvas, right? But of course I respect law authority. Not once they scream at him. And this was the second time I got profiled. The last time I completely lost it, I was mad. But, I kept trying to calm myself down. As I drove away, I wanted to, like, go back and, smack him or something. I was really angry because this wasn't only a disrespect of me. It was a disrespect of me as a community member, as a citizen, as someone that should feel safe, when around law enforcement. I mean, that's what they're there for. Anyway, so going back to the whole Ferguson thing, it's almost the same thing. The police officer feel that they are undermined, and so they have to show aggression to prove a point. And the American incarceration system is so designed to take the young black youth who have lost hope. They have completely lost hope, to turn to something that they can do to put bread on the table, right? So, I mean, there are community colleges, but I don't think there are sort of community colleges and stuff for police officers, for them to learn more about society, about how society perceives them, and how they want society to perceive them. Because not everybody, walks around with a gun and what and what and what. It's a situation where you find yourself in an environment or that is not even of your choosing, and that environment, it implicates you. So the Ferguson thing, the Baltimore thing, these are all daily occurrences. I know a lot of people don't get shot, but a lot of people get harassed. Check for weapons and but the same thing will happen in Manhattan, because there is an assumption that they are so rich they don't have to partake in crime, right? So they have a privilege for being rich, and the blacks have the disadvantage of not coming from communities that are rich, right? And in order to sort of balance this, it would have to be about creating community projects where the police are present, so that the police can hear what the people are saying, and then the police can also give their side. What this will do is give everybody it will give everybody an opportunity to sort of understand what the other group, the other people think. And the outcome of something like this would be that there would be more of a let's work together to keep our communities crime free, as well as to keep our communities safe, so that kids can play outside safely, as opposed to probably even a lot of teenagers who have to be harassed by police, because there is no dialogue between the police and the communities. And the President of America has an opportunity. He has an opportunity to try, right, to try and get their mayors, to do another form of reconciliation, so that we know that there is no enemy. We're all from the same country, and we all want good for our communities. But having black people in a community shouldn't be cause to say the community is now, now it's just damaged. Because families have to be healed from the horrors of the past. Right? There are families who live through segregation, and heck, way back there were families who lived through slavery, who still had these stories to tell. Right? So we want the government to have a police system in place where the people feel safe, where the people can trust law authority, as opposed to people not trusting them, as a people not believing that they have the community's interest at heart, because that's why they exist. They exist to protect people of a community, as well as to give them a sense of security. So dialogues that must take place between the law enforcers as well as the community, they can be community meetings, all over in different places, because it's a problem, right? It's a problem, and it will keep being a problem. A lot of people that are foreigners to America, go to America for opportunity. But a lot of Americans feel robbed of opportunities, because the reality of America is that a foreign white man can have this vision and dream of, the American dream, but a black man wouldn't. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was a governor. Why is that? What did he show that made him relevant? And he's German, of course. I think he changed citizenship, but he's technically German. So that just shows that he's privileged to be white, because these opportunities were easier to get. I'm not saying it wasn't hard. Of course it was hard. But it was easier because you have that slight advantage over the black man who can do the same thing, probably do it better. So, and this is, it's also evident in sport. Most of the successful sport franchises in America, the majority are black, because it's about showing your skill and what you can do. And that being the benchmark for being a pro in sports means that the race question is eliminated, and the capacity of the or person is higher. And that's the fact that they are black doesn't keep them from being great sportsmen, because you need to actually score and win. And the history of American sports is also one thing, where black people weren't allowed to partake in these sports, even though they were better than their white counterparts. But because you're black, you couldn't get in. But as the system changed and more black people got into sport, we saw the difference of what happens when capability and racial, let me call it, the racial privilege card doesn't work. So their sports is basically balanced, and that's what the communities in America need to also have. They need that balance, that it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, because it's not something that will be said outright, but it's something that you will notice, or when you analyze the communities. There's the whole, if black people are in charge, then everything goes to hell. And that's not true, because when black people are in charge, they have to please the white folk as well as the black folk. The people with the most money end up winning. The people with the most money and influence end up winning. So that's how unbalanced it is. And that unbalance needs to be dialogued until it's not a question of race anymore. Because America has been divided like this for hundreds of years. Hundreds. And it has to be fixed. You can't have one half that has everything and one half that doesn't have as much. I mean, look at the projects. The projects were meant to be for poor people. Okay, cool. But the people that moved into the projects, did they have enough money, or was their income good enough for them to sustain these apartments and stuff? So it ended up falling apart, and blackness was accused as the reason, while it wasn't blackness that was the cause of that failure. It was the absence of employment, of decent jobs. So that's what I think about the whole Baltimore, Ferguson, and American thing. Because things like gangs, there's a war on drugs, but there isn't a war on gangs. And gangs are what the police officers look for most of the time. But you can't assume someone's from a gang just because they are black. And the whole three-strike law, what it does is it assumes that people cannot change. And because people know this, that they don't believe we can change, they don't believe we can rebuild our lives. And because of that, they ensure that we can change and uplift our lives. Alright? That's just one of the things in American society that's biased. Like drugs. I mean, who gets hurt? But if you have a felony for drugs, selling drugs and stuff, you are automatically assumed to be everything bad that most or a few criminals really are. You are a murderer, you are a rapist, you are what, all of that stuff. Right? And the reasons that the people take up selling drugs, it's because they can't find any means of income aside from that. And when I say that, I mean, they can find employers that look past the fact that they are black, that look past the fact that they might not be as educated as most, and that's just what it's a list of all of the things wrong and how they could fix them. It shouldn't be a racial question, but in order to turn it into a question of community and nationality, the race question has to be addressed. Right? It has to be addressed, because you want the supremacists to look like idiots, right? To ensure that people don't fall victim to sort of reacting to their propaganda and conservative, ancient, made up beliefs. So I hope it goes well, and I hope that the American youth, as well as the American elders, especially the elders, realize that they are the only people that can actually solve this problem. They have the power, but now they have to align themselves with one another. this will definitely reform the perception of black people, as well as the perception of criminals. And it's necessary. Salute.